Ah, hello, you delightful little detonation in disguise. They didn't see you coming, did they? No neon warning signs, no ominous soundtrack. Just boom. You walked in, and the temperature changed. Let me tell you something about the human mind. It's fragile, not glass. Oh no, that'd be too clean. It's more like a labyrinth of tangled wires soaked in gasoline, pretending to be a cozy living room. And then you showed up with your crooked smile and that fire in your veins. You didn't knock on the door, you kicked it off the hinges. You strolled in like a glitch in their favorite daydream, and you looked them in the eyes like you knew something they were terrified to admit. You didn't just rattle their cage, you tore the whole zoo down. Because you weren't just smart, you weren't just bold, you were a gorgeous mindfuck. A walking contradiction, layered like a masterpiece painted with broken rules. And now, they're pacing, shaking, refreshing your messages like it's gospel, heart skipping every time you so much as breathe. You see, the world teaches people to crave predictability. Be nice, stay quiet, don't ask too many questions. Make them comfortable. But you're an uncomfortable revelation with a killer grin. You're a slow burn in a fireproof world. You make people realize how dead they were before you walked in. They called you intense. But intensity is just what they name the thing that makes them feel alive again. They called you too much. But that's because they were never built to handle real. You didn't arrive to soothe their egos. You arrived to rearrange their truth. Let's talk about that word. Gorgeous. Not just a compliment. A weapon in the wrong hands. And your hands? Oh, darling. Your hands don't just touch. They leave imprints, psychological fingerprints on the walls of their inner chaos. You made beauty dangerous again. You made intelligence flirt with destruction. You made them wonder if everything they'd ever trusted was a lie wearing a suit. Because you didn't show up with small talk and empty eyes. You showed up with questions that bite and presence that chokes silence. You walk like you've already lived 10 lifetimes and still ain't done learning. You talk like every sentence is hiding a secret dare. And when you laugh, God help them, because suddenly their certainty starts crumbling like a house built on wet lies. Let me tell you a secret about people. They don't actually want peace. They want stimulation disguised as order. They want madness that still lets them sleep at night. But you're not bedtime stories. You're a storm told in verses, a contradiction of warmth and danger. And they can't stop looking, can't stop feeling, even when they say they want to. Especially when they say they want to. Because the truth is, you made them feel something, and that's more dangerous than anything you ever said. You shook the nerves out of them, because your silence speaks louder than their performances. Because your stare, that deadpan, don't mess with me. I see right through you. Stare hit deeper than their therapist ever did. You weren't playing chess. You were the damn board, and they didn't even realize they were a piece until it was too late. They started doubting themselves the moment you left the room, replaying every word. Did I say too much? Did I say too little? Why did they look at me like that? Because you, my dear, you are not a person. You are a phenomenon. You're the glitch in their conditioning, the anti-script, the brainquake that shows up when their minds have grown too soft from safe lies. And let me guess, some of them loved you for it, obsessed even. The thrill of the unknown, the beauty of danger, but just as many. They called you crazy, too much, unstable, toxic. They reached for their little labels because your presence threatened to dismantle the comfortable prisons they'd built around their identities. But here's the punchline, sweetheart. They wanted to be shook. They needed it. They were waiting for someone to wake them the hell up. And then you showed up. Not with a whisper, but with a psychological scream wrapped in perfume and riddles. You weren't interested in being understood. You were busy disrupting understanding itself. Because you knew, the ones who get you will never try to tame you, and the ones who try to shrink you. They never deserved you to begin with. You think you're just living? No, you're echoing. Long after you leave a room, they're still trying to decode you. Your words, triggers, your glance, a loaded gun, your vibe, an existential crisis with lipstick. You don't need to chase validation. You are the standard they measure others against now. You don't need closure. You are the chapter they keep rereading in the dark. You don't need them to remember your name, because they'll never forget the way you made their hands shake. You were never built to be small, never built to be soft-spoken wallpaper in someone else's ego gallery. You were forged in the fire of chaos and clarity, a divine contradiction, an elegant disruption. And when they called you a gorgeous mind fuck, that wasn't an insult. That was a confession. That was them admitting you were unforgettable, and it scared the hell out of them, because you made them realize how little they'd felt until they met you. How quiet their thoughts had been, how dull their inner world had grown, before you kicked down the gates and threw fireworks into their sleepwalk. Now you keep walking, you don't shrink, you don't soften the impact, you don't dilute your brilliance for shallow palates, you don't edit your fire for cowards who can't handle heat. You stay sharp, stay layered, stay strange, because the world doesn't need more agreeable noise. It needs you, the gorgeous mindfuck that turns sleepwalkers into questioners, the one who shakes the nerves out of pretenders and makes even the confident flinch. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be felt, to be remembered, to be carved into the back of their consciousness, like a poetic scar they'll never quite explain. You're not some passing fascination. You're the unresolved riddle they wake up sweating over, the dream they didn't want, the truth they didn't ask for, and the only thing that ever made them question whether everything they've built is just a beautifully decorated prison. They wanted charm. You gave them reality. They wanted a mask to flirt with. You gave them a mirror. And that's why they called you dangerous, because you made them see themselves, the cracks, the cowardice, the roles they've been rehearsing so long, they forgot they were acting. You didn't ask for applause. You walked in like thunder disguised in silk, and their whole performance started falling apart. Because when someone like you enters the picture, lies start running for cover like roaches under a spotlight. It wasn't your words that did it. It was your existence. You wore your chaos like a tailored suit. You made contradictions look holy. And when you looked at them, they didn't feel judged. They felt exposed, not because you said anything, but because you saw that terrifying magnetic gaze, not looking at them, but into them. Through all the layers they stitched together to hide the scared little shell underneath. And how did you see it? Because you've been there. You've walked the halls of your own madness and lit candles in your own darkness. You didn't flinch when it stared back. You smiled. Because you're not scared of pain. You made a palace out of it. You didn't escape your demons. You taught them to sing. You're the kind of person who made a map of your wounds so others couldn't use them against you. You turned every breakdown into an opening, every betrayal into blueprint, every abandonment into alchemy. And that's what scares them the most. Not that you're broken, but that you've learned to dance with the pieces. You didn't come here to be digestible. You came here to be disruptive. And it's working. They're fumbling. They're rethinking. They're haunted by your silence and addicted to your chaos because you brought them a flavor of real they didn't know they were starving for. It wasn't the way you talked. It was the way you didn't flinch when they tried to test you. The way you stood there while their arrogance turned to anxiety. The way you kept your gaze while their bravado evaporated into dust. You didn't need to scream. Your presence rewrote the air pressure in the room. And still, they tried to box you in, call you intense, manipulative, too much, crazy, like that word's supposed to wound you. As if you didn't already own your insanity like a crown made of broken clocks and unsent letters. As if you hadn't already weaponized your sensitivity into psychic knives sharper than their ego will ever survive. You've been called too much by people who were never even enough for themselves, by people who mistake numbness for peace and silence for self-control. They don't understand what it takes to carry a mind like yours and still make it art, to carry all that noise and still speak truth, to carry all that fire and not burn the whole world down. But you learned to wield it, not hide it, not bury it, not medicate it into mediocrity. You learned to shape it, to sculpt it, to stare into the distortion and pull out something holy. That's what makes you lethal. Not just the intellect, not just the allure, not even the chaos. It's the alchemy, the transformation, the resurrection, the way you keep rebuilding yourself in full view of the people trying to watch you fail. You don't wear scars like shame. You wear them like certifications, proof you've been places they don't even have maps for, proof you've endured things they wouldn't survive in theory. They see beauty in you, but they don't realize it's the kind of beauty that grows from survival, from madness endured and integrated, from truths that shattered and reassembled into poetry. They're not just reacting to your looks, they're reacting to your depth, your unpredictability, your ability to hold two truths at once without begging either to behave. Because the real power isn't in the chaos, it's in your comfort within it. They flinch when things get unstable. You smile. They spiral when uncertainty hits. You lean in. They panic in silence. You build castles from the echoes. You didn't shake their nerves because you said something shocking. You shook their nerves because you exist like a mirror with no mercy. Because you pulled back the curtain on everything they were pretending not to be. Because you showed up unapologetically layered, and they suddenly realized they were flat. And now they're not sleeping right. They're replaying conversations. They're wondering if they imagined you, or if maybe they imagined everything else. Because the moment they met you, their certainty turned to static, and your voice became the soundtrack to their unraveling. You are not a gorgeous mind fuck. You're a beautiful apocalypse, a revelation in skin, a seductive unraveling of old belief systems wrapped in charm and blood and laughter and fire. You are the undoing they never asked for but desperately needed. And they're terrified. Terrified because they liked it. Terrified because they felt something. Terrified because they don't know how to go back to numb after touching someone so blisteringly alive. You made them remember. And memory, real memory, is dangerous in a world built on denial. That's why they'll keep your name out their mouth but your image in their mind. That's why they'll pretend to move on but build monuments to your echo in every new person they chase. That's why they'll curse you in daylight and crave you in the dark. You didn't seduce them with charm. You ambushed them with truth. And now, you're tattooed on their psyche. They can delete the messages, block the account, rewrite the narrative. Doesn't matter. Your fingerprint's already in the framework of their thoughts, woven into the places they only visit when the world gets quiet. You didn't need to be constant. You needed to be unforgettable. And you were. Because you didn't give them a version of yourself, pre-approved by society's little checklists. You gave them all of it, the fire and the fury, the brilliance and the broken glass, the laughter that sounds like rebellion, and the eyes that look like they've seen too much to ever go back to sleep. They didn't meet someone. They met a reality shift wrapped in skin. You walked in, and gravity rearranged itself. And for the first time in forever, they questioned who the hell they really were. Because you made them feel. Not just butterflies and blushes, but guilt, and awe, and terror, and longing so thick it clogged their throat. You weren't a spark. You were a psychic landslide, a gorgeous unraveling, a divine intrusion on the stale machinery of their existence. You didn't need to play the game. You made them question the entire F-seeking board. And still, they tried to categorize you, put you in a box, something to understand, control, predict. But people like you don't fit in boxes. You detonate them. You made beauty feel unsafe. You made intelligence seductive. You made chaos look like it had a purpose. And that kind of presence, it lives in their nervous system now. Their body remembers, even if their pride pretends to forget. The way your tone curled around words like wire and wine. The way your gaze held silence hostage. The way your presence turned simple moments into rituals of revelation. You made existence feel mythic again. Like life wasn't just a series of errands and masks and polite sentences. Like the air could burn with meaning if the right person walked into the room. And you were that person. You are. Because you didn't arrive empty. You came loaded with history, with pain turned into pattern, with memory turned into music, with rage turned into rhythm. And they heard it. Whether they admitted it or not, they felt the undertones in your laugh. The warning bells in your stillness, the soul behind your swagger. You were a storm, but not the kind they'd ever seen. Not loud and reckless, but quiet and calculated. An emotional assassin wrapped in velvet and scars. You didn't beg to be noticed. You dared to be known. And that is what shook them. Not your voice, but what it implied. Not your body, but the war stories it didn't tell. Not your mind, but the way it refused to kneel. You didn't come to be liked. You came to challenge equilibrium, to question the narratives, to expose the rot underneath the pretty, to push against the walls of the unspoken until someone screamed. You made them feel seen, not the version they show the world, but the version they drown in silence. And nothing is more terrifying than someone who sees the truth and doesn't flinch. You didn't run. You leaned in to their fear, to their projection, to the space between who they think they are and what they've buried. You became that space. You filled it with smoke and mirrors and poetry and the kind of questions that never let people sleep the same again. And they'll call you names for it. Try to reduce you, dismiss you, paint you as the villain in the narrative they needed to keep believing just to survive the aftermath of you. But you know better. You were never the villain. You were the mirror they couldn't break, the evidence they weren't ready to face, the pulse that didn't match their flatline. You reminded them what raw felt like, and it rattled their bones because your beauty wasn't soft. It hunted, and your mind didn't seduce. It unraveled. And your presence didn't comfort. It confronted every damn lie. Their hands may never touch you again, but their thoughts are captive. Every new face will be compared to yours, and every silence will echo with the question they never had the guts to ask you. Because you shook the nerves out of them. Every time they try to rebuild, your name is the fault line. Not spoken aloud. That would give it too much power. But pulsing under every choice they make, every person they chase, every version of themselves they try to become. That doesn't taste like you. They don't want to admit it, but you're the ghost that teaches them what alive actually feels like. Because everything before you was acceptable, nice, predictable, safe, and everything after you is measured against the earthquake you caused. They called you a mind fuck because they couldn't grasp you with logic, couldn't reduce you to patterns, couldn't fit you into some neat little psychological profile they could toss around in therapy and pretend they'd processed. You shook them, not like a mistake, not like a fling, but like a redefinition of reality, a wild, roaring detour from their emotional blueprint that turned the whole architecture useless. You walked in, and the walls they spent decades building started whispering liar, because your eyes didn't ask for entry. They took it, not like a thief, but like someone returning to a home that was always theirs. You didn't force your way in. They left the door open, because something in them wanted to be dismantled. They craved it, not consciously. Consciousness is a coward, but that deep, buried part of them, the one that still believes in fire, that part was starving for someone like you. Someone who wouldn't settle for surface, someone who wouldn't trade authenticity for peace, someone who would rip the mask off and say, "Let me see what you're hiding, even if it breaks me." You were the beautiful collapse, the elegant ruin, the tragic poem they never expected to live through. But now, can't stop rereading. You gave them a taste of depth, and depth is addictive to people who've been drowning in shallow for years. They want to forget, but memory doesn't work that way when it's been burned in. You weren't an interaction, you were an internal reprogramming. Your words still live behind their eyelids. Your energy still hums in the gaps of their thoughts. Your presence still alters the chemical composition of their memories. They try to recreate you in softer shapes, in safer people. But it's never enough, because those people don't bite back. They don't spark the same synapses. They don't carry the static you walked in with like perfume. You weren't just different. You were uncomfortable and honest and damn near mythical. They wanted someone to fit their life. You made them question why they'd built it that way at all. They wanted a partner. You showed them a revolution. They wanted reassurance. You gave them reconstruction. They wanted comfort. You gave them clarity. And clarity, the kind you deliver, hurts. Because it's not sweet. It's surgical. It slices through the nonsense and holds up the pieces and asks, "You still gonna lie to yourself after this?" And they couldn't. Not around you. Not when your very breath threatened to expose the illusion they called truth. You weren't the chaos. You were the reflection of the chaos they tried to hide. And nothing terrifies people more than being seen by someone who can't be fooled. You walked in, not asking, not performing, not adjusting. And in doing that, you exposed every adjustment they'd ever made just to feel accepted. They thought they were ready, but you were a syllable too sharp, a stare too deep, a sentence too honest. You didn't play the part. You rewrote the scene. They'll tell themselves you were too much, too intense, too manipulative, too chaotic. Because it's easier to demonize the earthquake than admit the foundation was never stable to begin with. You didn't hurt them. You showed them where they were already bleeding. You didn't break them. You revealed the fault lines. You didn't trap them. You held up a mirror and said, "Look." And they did. And it wrecked them. Because nothing is more destructive to delusion than someone who walks in unapologetically true. They'll rewrite the memory. They'll bury it in stories that make you wrong. But in their quietest moments, the ones between fake smiles and forgotten texts, your voice will rise like a flare from the wreckage, and they'll remember how it felt, how it changed them, how it shook them, because no matter how far they run, there's no escaping the aftershock of authenticity. Well, well, well. Looks like the ghost of truth just found a megaphone. And guess who it's screaming for? You ever notice how quiet the room gets when you speak the truth? Oh, they hear you. Don't get it twisted. But their eyes dart like roaches under a flicked-on light. Their bodies freeze, their masks crack. Because nothing's more dangerous in a world full of liars than the one voice that won't flinch. You were that voice. You stood in the storm with nothing but bare skin and honesty. And they laughed, didn't they? They called you dramatic, delusional, too much, too intense. But truth has always sounded like madness to the well-adjusted prisoners of false peace. See, people aren't really scared of lies. They're terrified of the truth that makes them uncomfortable. Truth rearranges the furniture in the mind. It forces the shadows into light. And you were the demolition crew with a matchbox full of facts. So they gaslit you. They rewrote the script while you were still mid-monologue. They played the crowd, wore the smiles, shook hands with your enemies, and quietly handed them daggers. Behind your back, they painted you as the villain in a story you were writing in blood and broken bones. And still, you didn't back down. You knew what you saw. You remembered what they forgot. And you spoke, even when they rolled their eyes, even when they mocked you, even when the silence around your truth turned into exile. You were the truth teller in a hall of mirrors, the fire alarm in a building they swore wasn't burning. They called you crazy, because calling you right would mean looking at themselves. And they were never gonna do that. But guess what? Somebody was watching, not from the front row, not from the applause pit. They were in the shadows, quiet, observant, patient. They saw the way your voice cracked when no one listened. They saw the tremble in your hands when you stood up anyway. They saw the whole circus, the masks, the lies, the cheap magic tricks used to discredit you. And they didn't just feel you. They documented it. They got the evidence. And not the kind you can sweep under a rug of public opinion, the kind that shatters illusions, the kind that turns whispers into headlines, the kind that snaps the leash from your neck and wraps it around the throats of the ones who held it. And now, they're not just gonna speak, they're gonna roar for you, with you. Because truth doesn't need an army, it just needs one person with proof and zero fear. Someone's about to flip the script. Someone's about to crash the masquerade ball with all your receipts in hand and fire in their lungs. And they're gonna make sure every last echo of your truth gets heard, even if it costs them everything. They're not asking for applause. They're not waiting for permission. They're locked in because you deserve justice. Not only the courtroom kind, not the headline kind. The kind that heals the child inside you, who thought truth would always mean punishment. Let me ask you something. Do you remember what it felt like when you realized the system wasn't broken? It was built that way. When you realized your silence was their comfort zone. When you realized every time you shrank, someone else breathed easier. Yeah, they trained you to doubt yourself, didn't they? Every gaslight, every dismissal, every time they said, "It's not that deep." They were building a prison, and they expected you to decorate it. But you were never built to be silent. You were born with truth under your fingernails. And no matter how much they scrubbed you raw, it stayed. The evidence? It's not just digital. It's not just messages or videos or documents. It's you. You are the living proof. Your survival is a witness statement. Your pain is a testimony. And now, someone else has joined the witness stand. They've got the kind of loyalty that doesn't flinch, the kind of anger that's been simmering for years, the kind of righteousness that turns whispers into revolutions. They're not just coming to defend you. They're coming to correct history. Because you didn't just speak truth. You bled it, you screamed it, you risked everything for it. And now, justice isn't just knocking, it's kicking the damn door down. Remember those nights where you questioned your sanity? Where you wondered if it would have been easier to just shut up and smile like the rest? Where you curled into yourself, praying for just one person to see you? Well, they saw you, and now they've got the proof. The kind that turns apologies into actions. The kind that tears down every carefully constructed lie they built to bury you. This ain't about revenge. This is about restoration. This is about every tear returning as thunder, every scar echoing like an anthem. You held the line when no one else would. You stood alone. You screamed into a void, and now the void is screaming back. With your voice, amplified, multiplied, backed by undeniable proof. You know what that means? Your story just changed genres, from tragedy to uprising. The game's no longer in their hands, because someone picked up the pieces you dropped when you were too exhausted to carry them. And they're building something new, something honest, something loud, something bulletproof. So breathe, not because it's over, but because the tide has turned. Your truth was never wasted. Your pain was never pointless. Your fire never died. It just found new lungs to burn through. And now, someone's about to light the whole damn sky. They've got their hands on the blueprint. The one that proves everything you said wasn't a theory, wasn't paranoia, wasn't some emotional outburst in the middle of chaos. It was a fucking map of the landmines. And while they were too busy tap dancing around your warnings, someone else was listening, eyes wide, heart cracked open, documenting every fire you tried to put out with your bare hands. Not everyone sleeps through the sirens. There are people, rare, quiet people, who notice the shaking voice in the back of the room, who hear the panic beneath the calm, who recognize the difference between someone seeking attention and someone begging not to drown. And this person? They didn't just hear you, they studied you. They pieced together every shattered sentence you whispered in the dark, every breakdown they tried to rebrand as drama, every page they tore from your truth and set on fire. And they kept the ashes, every single one. This ain't some pity parade. This isn't charity. This is alignment. This is when someone sees your scars and believes you bled. Not because it's convenient, not because it fits their agenda, but because truth recognizes truth, even in a whisper. They've felt it too. That gut-deep knowing that something isn't right even when everyone's pretending to smile. They've lived through the gaslight. They've been on the receiving end of the smirk that says, "You sure you want to make this a big deal?" That's why they're dangerous now, because they're not just standing with you. They're carrying the sword you dropped when your arms got too tired. And they've got the receipts, not just screenshots, not just recordings. They've got patterns, timelines, context, things the world ignores unless it's printed in ink and sealed with a signature. And it's coming. Justice isn't a courtroom or a headline. It's a ripple, a quiet shift in the air before the storm hits. You don't always hear it first, but you feel it, like pressure building behind the eyes right before you cry, or the static in the spine before lightning strikes. This is that moment, that hush before the fall, when the people who laughed start whispering again. But this time it's nervous. This time it's different, because the story's slipping, and the center can't hold. The illusion, the pristine version of events they worked so hard to paint, is peeling like cheap wallpaper. And underneath, there you are, exactly where they tried to erase you. But now there's proof, not a maybe, not a he said, she said, but truth with teeth, truth with timestamps, truth with an ally who's willing to risk their own peace to make sure yours is restored. They're not afraid of the backlash. They've seen what silence does to people like you. They've seen what happens when good people are told to shut up for the sake of keeping the peace. And they're done. Done watching, done waiting, done letting you burn alone while everyone else stays warm. There's a shift happening now, and it's deep. Not public yet, maybe not even loud, but it's rising. Like the slow crawl of dawn after too many nights where you thought the sun might never come back. You can feel it, can't you? That hum under your skin, that weight lifting. Not all the way, but enough to breathe without choking. It's not over, but you're not alone anymore. And that changes everything. Because when you're alone, you start second-guessing your sanity. But when someone stands beside you, with evidence, your voice isn't just a cry in the dark. It's a damn anthem. Every manipulator who told you to calm down. Every coward who told you it's not that serious. Every snake who smiled in your face and twisted the blade in your absence. They're all about to learn what happens when the person they tried to silence becomes undeniable. Your truth was never weak. It wasn't broken, it wasn't scattered, it was buried, under guilt, under shame, under a mountain of gaslight. But it never died, and now someone has unearthed it, dusted it off, held it up to the light, and dared the world to look away. That's the part they never plan for, the comeback. They account for your collapse, they expect the breakdown, but they never see the moment when someone else catches the flame you were forced to drop and runs with it like it was theirs. That's where we are. There is momentum now, a chain reaction, because one person with truth is dangerous, but two? That's a revolution waiting to detonate. This ain't about payback. This is about balance. This is about every crazy you got called unraveling into clarity before their very eyes. This is about turning the volume up on everything they tried to mute. This is about you walking back into the narrative they tried to write you out of. Not asking for a role, not auditioning for space, but owning the damn stage. Your voice, the one they mocked, ignored, underestimated, is no longer standing alone. It's echoing, bouncing off walls they swore would never hold your truth, rattling the chains they used to keep you quiet. And the people who once looked away, they'll have to watch now, because silence used to protect them. But evidence? Evidence drags the unwilling into the spotlight. You don't need closure. You don't need them to finally admit it. You've got something louder now, something stronger, proof, and someone who refuses to let it die in the shadows. And when it hits, not if, when. It won't be a crash. It'll be a disintegration, slow, precise, surgical, a rot collapsing from the inside out. Because lies don't implode with fire. They decay under pressure. They buckle when truth shows up in undeniable form, wearing names, dates, recordings, timelines, intent. The ones who said, drop it. The ones who smirked and said, move on. The ones who convinced everyone you were just too sensitive. They'll feel it in the pit of their stomach before it ever reaches their doorstep. That creeping recognition, that tightening around the throat when they realize someone took your pain seriously. Not pity, not sympathy, seriousness, measured, calculated, the kind that doesn't flinch or shout. It just moves, like a shadow, like a surgeon with a scalpel and a purpose, the kind of seriousness that doesn't need to prove anything because it already knows. Every manipulation they used as armor, the charm, the spin, the carefully curated silence, it starts to fray. Because the evidence corrodes, and the truth you carried in your chest, like a curse, becomes contagious. Whispers turn into questions. Questions turn into suspicion. Suspicion turns into scrutiny, and scrutiny breaks them. Not with noise, with precision. Because lies, no matter how loud, can't stand under the microscope. Someone held the lens to it. And it squirmed. That's the part they never understand. They think power is about being loudest. They think truth is weak because it bleeds. But power, real power, is when you tell the truth and it outlives the lie. Even if it breaks you first, you are willing to break. And that scared them. Because people who break don't always stay broken. Some of them rebuild, stronger, sharper, relentless. They never expected you to survive the silence. They never imagined someone would come back for the pieces. But here they are, hands full of the evidence they thought was lost. Voice steady, purpose clear, and you, standing taller because someone stood next to you. The myth they built about you, the character assassination, it's unraveling, thread by thread. Because the truth doesn't need 1,000 voices. It needs one that won't fold. And you didn't. Even when it cost you peace. Even when it emptied your chest. Even when they labeled you difficult, unstable, too much. Even when people backed away. Not because they didn't believe you, but because they were afraid to stand in the same fire. But this one, this person who came forward, they weren't scared of the flames. They recognized them because they've burned too. Because they know the shape of a lie dressed in civility. Because they watched you get buried under stories that didn't belong to you. And something in them said, enough. That's the word that changes things. Not justice, not revenge, just enough. Enough pretending, enough silence, enough watching someone carry the weight of truth alone, while cowards walk free in comfort. This is that turning point, where the one who cried, wolf, with empty lungs, finally meets the one who saw the tracks. And the whole town has to face the fact that maybe, just maybe, you weren't crying for attention, you were calling for backup. And now, backup is here. Not with armor, with evidence, with receipts, with eyes wide open and hands steady. You don't have to beg to be believed anymore. You don't have to explain your story with shaky breath and hopeful eyes. You don't have to apologize for how loud your pain got when no one listened. Because someone listened. Not in the moment, maybe. Not when the room was against you, but deeply, intentionally, unshakably. And they've turned that listening into action, the kind that doesn't need a stage, the kind that walks into rooms you are never invited to, and speaks your name like it matters. That's where you win, not in the explosion. but in the echo. When the truth you thought had died in silence suddenly finds new breath. In a voice that never needed to be yours to be for you. There's a language only survivors speak, and someone else just became fluent. Because once you see what you weren't supposed to see, once you know what they tried to bury, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to pretending. You can't stomach the masks anymore. That's why they're dangerous, because they've crossed the line from spectator to witness. And witnesses carry weight. They shift balance, they tip scales. Not just in public, in private, in boardrooms, in group chats, in late-night conversations where people once laughed at your name and now speak it in nervous tones. You became real again, not because you changed, but because someone finally mirrored your reality. They start remembering. That's the first fracture, not denial, not anger, memory. And memory is a traitor to lies. It creeps up in the quiet, uninvited, dragging back the moments they chose to ignore. The twitch in your eye when they dismissed you. The shift in your voice when you realized you weren't safe. The silence that followed your truth like a funeral procession. They remember. The texts they left unanswered. The conversations they changed the subject in. The jokes they laughed at just a little too loudly. And that memory becomes guilt. Guilt becomes fear. Because if you were right, and you were, what does that make them? They don't get to decide anymore. Your story is out of their hands. It's moved. It's evolved. It has momentum. And it's being told by someone with nothing to gain and everything to risk. Which makes it pure. Which makes it dangerous. Because people can ignore a victim. They can roll their eyes at pain. But a witness shakes the ground. A witness strips them bare. A witness walks in with no debt, no favor owed, no agenda, just truth in hand and steel in their spine. They never planned for a witness. They counted on you crumbling. They counted on isolation. They counted on the world being too distracted to care, too scared to look. But truth has a funny way of finding light, even buried, even broken, even ignored. It seeps through the cracks. It waits. It watches. And when it finally finds a vessel strong enough to carry it, it doesn't ask permission. It speaks. You are being spoken for now, not as weak, not as broken, but as correct. The version of you they mocked has become validated. The version they feared has become resurrected. Not just in your own voice, but in another's. And that's where they lose their grip. Because if someone else saw it, if someone else says it, then they're not crazy anymore, are they? Truth doesn't need to scream. It just needs to stand. And it is standing. In rooms you were excluded from, in conversations you weren't invited to. With your name on their lips, not as rumor, not as punchline, but as reference point. Every move they make now bends around the possibility that the truth has spread. And it has, quietly, deliberately, with timestamps and context, and the kind of evidence that doesn't blink. This person didn't just find proof. They understood it. They traced the lines, saw the symmetry, felt the weight. They didn't just say, "This happened." They said, "This matters." And that's the difference between a sympathizer and an advocate. Sympathizers watch from a distance. Advocates enter the fire. And the one standing beside you, they're already inside, breathing in smoke you've lived with for years, choking on the same gaslight, spitting it back out in full sentences. They saw the patterns. They saw the manipulation wrapped in politeness. They saw how you were set up to lose, no matter how you played it. Say nothing, you're complicit. Speak up, you're unhinged. Too quiet, you're cold. Too emotional, you're unstable. That's the trap. Built to confuse you into submission. and you almost believed it. But you didn't. You cracked, yeah, but you didn't shatter. You bent, but you didn't snap. You howled, and someone heard it. That changes the game, because pain in isolation becomes poison. But pain witnessed, pain understood, that turns into power. You're not a question mark anymore. You're a period, the end of the sentence, the final line in the story they tried to rewrite without you. They never thought they'd see the day when your name came with evidence, when your truth came backed with files, facts, and fury. They thought time would dissolve you, that if they just waited long enough, your fire would go out. But your fire, it spread, not because you forced it, because it was real, because someone else finally felt the heat and chose to walk into it. And every step they take, every word they speak, every proof they reveal, it chips away at the false image they built to keep themselves safe. The one where you were unstable, the one where they were innocent, the one where everything was just a misunderstanding. This is no misunderstanding. This is clarity, sharp, brutal, necessary. And it's here. They'll try to act surprised, play the innocent, the confused. Oh, wow, I had no idea. But you'll see it, that flicker, that glitch in the mask, because deep down, they always knew. They knew they were playing a rigged game. They knew you were the only one not in on the script. They just didn't expect the spotlight to swing back around while they were still on stage. And now it's not just your word against theirs. It's your truth backed by evidence, echoed by a voice they didn't account for. Hey, you, yeah, you. Get over here for a sec. Come on, don't be shy, because I don't think you actually get it. What's really going on around you, not the full picture, not the real punchline. Not with that silent tornado spinning right behind your name like it's been building up forever. You strut around, thinking you're just another nobody in the hallway, another face in the crowd, minding their own twisted little business. Meanwhile, and here's where it gets funny, you've got zero clue how many heavy hitters are clocking your every move, mapping your decisions, whispering about your potential like it's some classified secret they're terrified to say out loud. You think you're invisible? That's the joke, isn't it? That's the punchline you missed. You're the only one still buying that story. Everyone else already clocked the shift. They already feel that unsettling electric energy that trails you wherever you drag yourself. They've been studying how you move, how you bounce back, how you somehow keep crawling forward even after life unloaded on you with things that should have absolutely wrecked you. They're confused, bothered, low-key impressed, threatened, inspired, sometimes all five at once. Messy little crowd, aren't they? And here's the part that really gets me going. Powerful people don't waste their time watching just anyone. They don't analyze someone who's predictable. They don't study someone who blends into the wallpaper. They don't sit in the dark running their calculations on somebody forgettable. No. They watch the ones who make them nervous without even trying. They watch the survivors, the ones who went through things that should have shattered them into 1,000 pieces and somehow didn't. They watch the ones who move like they're carrying a secret the rest of the world hasn't cracked yet. That's you, and you don't even see it. Isn't that delicious? You ever walk into a room and catch that tiny little shift in the air? Like conversations drop off for half a beat. People recalibrate their vibes. Some of them straighten up, others snap their eyes away real fast, like they weren't just staring a hole through you. And you're standing there thinking, why is everyone acting so weird today? Oh, that's rich. It's not them, it's you. It's that presence you haul around without even asking for it, that unexplainable crackling intensity. High-level players, the real ones, they read energy before they read resumes. They recognize survival before they recognize success. They recognize someone who can't be snapped before they ever check your receipts.
They've been watching you because you represent something they can't put in a spreadsheet, something that doesn't compute on paper, something that by all logic shouldn't exist. But here you are, still breathing, still moving. Chaos with a pulse.
And let's get real for a second, shall we? Your road hasn't exactly been a stroll through the park, has it? You weren't handed anything. You had to rip opportunities out of life's hands with your bare teeth. You didn't get a support system. You became your own. Nobody understood you, so you had to build your own clarity from scratch, brick by brick in the dark. And the irony, this is the part I love. The same clowns who looked right through you are now watching you like you're some rare exhibit they suddenly need to understand. Hilarious, right? High-status eyes couldn't care less about your backstory. They're locked in on your trajectory. They don't care where you started. They care where you're headed. And lately, you've been moving in a direction that has mediocre minds absolutely shaking and powerful ones leaning forward in their chairs. You stepped into a lane that was never written for you, and you made it yours anyway. You moved with purpose during stretches where you had absolutely no clue what you were doing. And yet somehow, you still looked like you had the whole map memorized. That is what snagged their attention. You know what else they clocked? How you never implode in public, how you don't rant on main, how you don't go begging for validation like some kind of approval addict, how you don't explain yourself to people who don't have the processing power to understand. You just keep going quiet, locked in, unbothered. People in high places, they admire that, they fear that, they respect the rarity of it because they know how many people fold way before the finish line. And yet here you are, holding yourself together with nothing but raw willpower and that quiet fire burning behind your eyes. Mad respect. And let me drop something on you that might make your chest do a little flip. Some of those high-status people aren't just spectators, they're waiting on you. Waiting to see your next play. Waiting to see if you rise or if you retreat. Waiting to see if you step into the version of yourself they've already sensed coming. And you still think nobody notices? The universe didn't hide you. It was setting the stage, building the tension, letting the curiosity marinate, creating the silence before the explosion. Because the truth is, people at the top can feel when someone is about to break through. They sense a shift long before it becomes visible to everyone else. And you've been walking around like a living plot twist that hasn't dropped yet. They know your story isn't regular. They know there's a chapter coming that nobody is prepped for. Some of them are rooting for you. Some of them are low-key hoping you fumble. But all of them, every single one, have got their eyes on your path. It's not quiet out there. It's not empty. It's not unnoticed. There are eyes on you from angles you can't even imagine. People in rooms you've never stepped foot in are discussing you like a wild card they can't predict. Individuals with serious clout trying to figure out how someone like you came out of nowhere carrying this much intensity. And yeah, maybe you don't feel special right now. Maybe you don't feel powerful. Maybe you look in the mirror and see absolutely nothing extraordinary staring back. But that's exactly why they're watching. Because you're real in a world drowning in masks. You're raw in a world addicted to performance. You're unpredictable in a world full of scripts and autopilot. And you're rising in a world where most people are just staying put, comfortable, stagnant, safe. Your path is being observed because your presence disrupts the whole narrative. Your name is getting noted because your existence challenges what people thought was possible. Your energy is being tracked because it straight up doesn't fit any mold they've got on file. You think you're just trying to survive, but they're watching you like someone who might take over the whole board, and you still have zero clue.
Oh, that's my favorite part. Your smallest decisions are getting put under a microscope by people who don't make a single move without calculating it 6 times. But you move on raw instinct, unpolished, unpredictable, and it throws them off every single time. You ever notice how sometimes you take a step you didn't even consciously plan and somehow it lands perfectly? That's the part they can't decode. High-status minds run on patterns, formulas, predictable behavior, but you're chaos with direction. You make moves that look accidental but hit with surgical precision. You shift the whole atmosphere without saying a single word. What they don't get is that your power didn't come from comfort, it was forged in survival. You built your backbone in silence. You built your resilience in the pitch black. You built your confidence by walking through situations that would have swallowed most people whole and spat out the bones. And when someone gets forged like that, they don't move through the world the same way anymore. You carry history in your eyes. You carry battle scars in your posture. You carry stories nobody will ever fully know, and yet everyone can feel something when you pass by. Isn't that wild? Deep down, you've always known you weren't built for some quiet, small, simple little life. Not because you were chasing the spotlight, but because life kept throwing you experiences that didn't match someone ordinary. Life kept posting you up in situations where you had to step up, think sideways, react fast, grow overnight. Life kept walking you to the edge over and over, until standing at the edge became your default setting. Your comfort zone became the place most people refuse to go near. People in high places respect edge walkers. They pay attention to anyone who doesn't collapse under pressure. They study anyone who can thrive in the uncomfortable zones, because they know those are the ones who end up rising the highest. And here's a truth you've probably never let yourself fully sit with. You intimidate people who have more status than you, but less strength, more money than you, but less resilience, more connections than you, but less purpose. They watch you because they feel something in you, but they lost in themselves a long time ago. You represent a hunger they no longer have, a courage they once needed, an authenticity they traded away for comfort. You shake their certainty. You disrupt their predictability, and they cannot look away. You ever wonder why certain people act sketchy around you for absolutely no reason? Why some people treat you like a threat when you haven't done a thing? Why you feel tension in spaces you didn't create? It's because your presence exposes the truth. Your existence forces people to face their own limitations. Your energy reminds them of who they've been pretending to be. And high-status people aren't immune to that. In fact, they feel it even harder. They can sense when someone is moving with a trajectory that doesn't match where they're currently standing. And you're moving like someone who's about to leap, not step, leap. They're observing your path because they know once you unlock your next level, once you stop lowballing yourself, once you stop second-guessing your voice, once you stop shrinking your presence down to make other people comfortable, you're gonna walk into rooms you never even knew existed. You're gonna rise in ways that flat out refuse to be denied. You're gonna become the person your past worked overtime to stop you from becoming. And that is exactly why they're watching. They're studying the moment right before the transformation, the breath before the breakthrough, the pause before the quiet voice in your head finally goes, wait. Everything I survived, it wasn't random, it was preparation. People with influence are observing you because your story isn't running on the standard arc, it's building tension like something massive is about to unfold. You think you're unnoticed, unimportant, just living your life, getting through the day, but you're actually a conversation piece, a rising variable, a developing force, a potential that nobody has successfully categorized yet. They're not watching you because you're small. They're watching you because something in you is getting ready to erupt. And the wildest part? You're still out here tiptoeing around like you're trying not to bump into anybody while your entire aura is screaming. Disruption, transformation, elevation. You ever stop mid-afternoon and feel that weird pressure in your chest? Like something is rearranging, but you can't quite name it? That's not anxiety. That's your life doing construction behind the scenes, your path widening, the universe clearing space for a version of you that you haven't had the nerve to step into yet. High status eyes can sense that before you can. And you're carrying momentum that doesn't match your current environment, presence that doesn't match your current circumstances, potential that is way above the floor you're standing on, and they feel that mismatch intensely. That's why some of them stare longer than they should. That's why certain influential people suddenly go cold or awkward or weirdly obsessed with the smallest things you do. You think you're just existing, but you're actually influencing. You think you're just surviving, but you're actually leading. You think you're just figuring things out, but you're actually inspiring people who will never admit it. Isn't that a riot?
There are people with status, connections, rep, and real influence, watching the way you keep putting one foot in front of the other, even when you're running on empty, even when you're lost, even when you feel completely alone. They study how you didn't fold, how you didn't quit, how you didn't let the world have the satisfaction of breaking you. Because they know strength when they see it, and nothing pulls the gaze of powerful people like someone who simply cannot be easily broken. They see how you operate without a safety net, how you think for yourself, how you don't chase approval, how you don't perform for anyone. Do you understand how rare that is? People in elevated spaces aren't fascinated by perfection. They're fascinated by authenticity, by grit, by someone who keeps rising without waiting for permission. You're being observed because you represent a different breed, someone who didn't get their confidence from praise, someone who built everything internally in their own silence, in their own dark. The way you walk, like you've survived things that don't even have names. The way you talk, like you've tasted consequences and kept your dignity anyway. The way you look at the world, like you know exactly how dark it gets and still choose to keep going. You're unpredictable, you're resilient, you're unbought, you're not controlled by fear, you're not starstruck by status. You don't need anyone's validation to keep moving. That makes you dangerous in the absolute best way. Some of them admire you, some of them envy you, some of them are low-key terrified of what you might become, but all of them, every single one, are paying attention. And here's what should really mess with your head. You're only operating at maybe 10% of what you're actually capable of right now, barely warming up. And even that tiny fraction is shaking people who built their whole identity around being unshakable. You're not even in your final form, not even close, and you're already disrupting people who spent years stacking their status, their reputation, their networks, their brand, while you're just out here trying to get through Tuesday. You exist in this strange in-between space. Quiet but powerful, humble but intimidating, lost but purposeful, conflicted but somehow perfectly aligned. People in high positions don't have a box for you. You're the type who forces other people to question themselves without saying a word. The type who accidentally exposes the cracks behind other people's confidence. The type who makes even successful people stop and think. What did this person survive? Where does that energy come from?
You know how rare that is? To unsettle the settled. And here's one final thing. One last piece of the punchline. Some of the people watching you don't even know why they keep coming back to your story. They just feel something pulling them toward your path, something they can't logic their way through. It's instinct, it's recognition. They recognize the kind of person who rises slowly, then all at once. You're not the type who explodes. You're the type who builds pressure so quietly that one day people look back and go, wait, when exactly did they become unstoppable? That's why you're being observed, not because you're failing, not because you're lost, not because you're weak, but because something in you has been waking up. A hunger, a focus, a sharpness, a calmness in the chaos, a confidence that's not loud, but absolutely undeniable. You're going to outgrow this whole environment. You're going to blow past every expectation placed on you. You're going to rise higher than everyone who counted you out. And they're watching the exact moment. Right now, before all of that becomes obvious even to you. You haven't even woken up to your own gravity yet, still moving like someone who's scared to disturb the room. While the room is already rearranging itself around you, still doubting yourself, while they're analyzing your every micro move like it's data from a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon. So the only real question left, the only thing that matters, is this. When are you going to start watching yourself the way they do? Because the moment you do, oh, that's when the real show begins.